what's everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys, this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, the gateway to new rock and metal music, the podcast where we're inspiring young rock and metal fans to discover new music and feeling their desire to connect and feel accepted. Welcome to the show, everybody, and Connect and Feel Accepted is the name of the game on this podcast with this band where, oh my God, when it comes to connecting with fans and really creating that positive community feel, this absolutely hits on it in the most incredible way possible. I cannot wait to show you guys this episode. But before we go into that, I want to thank support for this podcast, which of course is Phoenix Fitness. Yep, I got my little Phoenix Fitness mug right here. Ooh, look at that. So you guys know I love going to live shows. You guys know I love going to concerts. It's what gives me the energy in life. And if there's a concert, the mosh pit, I'm like, ooh, yeah, because I love going to mosh pits. I'm never going to miss out on one. And it means I have to stay mosh pit fit so I can start the show in the pit, end the show in the pit, and not take a break in between. So I end up going to the gym a lot. I mean, I'm constantly lifting, working out, and doing a lot of cardio all the time to make sure I stay in that type of condition to stay mosh pit fit because those are my fitness goals. And you probably have fitness goals yourselves as well. Might be get mosh pit fit too. But in order to achieve those fitness goals properly after working out and all that stuff, you have to prepare and recover correctly so that you can continue this on a consistent basis. And that's where Phoenix Fitness comes in. They have many different products to help you achieve those fitness goals, to keep yourself prepared and recovering right so you can stay mosh pit fit. They have different types of pre-workouts, both stim and stim-free. I use their stim-free stuff because, guys, Kevin doesn't really need more energy than he needs right now. Could you imagine me on caffeine? It'd just be like, "Rah!" So I use their stim-free stuff. They also have BCAA recovery compounds to help you absorb nutrients in your muscles after your workouts. Creatine to help you build muscle. Protein to help you build muscle in different types like plant-based protein, collagen-based protein, and whey protein. I use their whey chocolate malt flavor because that's yum yums in my tum-tums. They also have different types of multivitamins and literally anything you might need to achieve your fitness goals, Phoenix Fitness has for you. So our listeners get 20% off using the code CPP20 at fnx.com, link description of the podcast. Thank you, Phoenix Fitness. Go and do that, if you please, to say mosh pit fit. Now our feature presentation, Lucrecia, Japanese prog kawaii ultra metalcore inspired band from San Francisco, California. Oh my God. This is one where you're going to want to listen to one from start to finish because there is so much good stuff here for you to get into a band where you're going to feel like you're a part of a friendship and a part of a community. Are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. Again, you guys know I love bringing you all this different kind of music, especially from the rock and metal scene. And through my random perusings on Instagram one day, I came across something that I found to be rather interesting. I listened to the music, and at that point, it was no doubt where it's like, this band's presentation, their influences, and their style, oh yeah, this is definitely something you guys are going to want to listen to. From a prog, kawaii, ultra, metalcore kind of style, all rolled into one, and their most recent single that you can find on Spotify right now, Grave of the Fireflies. I mean, go listen to it. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss out on it, along with the other music they have out there. So instead of me going through this much longer intro, let's just jump right into it. So please welcome Suki and Frankie from the band Lucrecia to the podcast. So,
Howdy.
Suki, Frankie, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Thank you.
Hello. Pleasure to have both of you here, as it is, a Saturday morning, afternoon when we're recording this. So, how has it been going for you both as of late? I mean, especially with Lucrecia, everything that's been going on in 2023 so far. How has everything just been going recently?
Well, it's busy. I mean, we get like a few days off, but I would say honestly, like we're usually working on something every day, or at least have something planned. So we're staying usually like busy all the time. We just got done with our little mini tour, and as soon as I got back, I started having to wrap up like our next video, and so I've been finalizing like my storyboard, and I'm gonna start working on our shot list sometime hopefully this weekend. My guitarist actually does he works on films and stuff, or I don't know like what he's worked on actually, but I just know that he knows a lot about this stuff. And so I'm gonna use his knowledge to help wrap up the shot list, and then After that, we just have to get like the rest of the props ready and then set a date for the next video. So, yeah, we're just always doing something.
And grind.
I mean, it makes total sense, especially, always doing something grind, especially at this time and this stage of your musical careers. Because, I love talking to bands that are constantly trying to grow their size, grow their influence, grow their audience, and just continue to get towards that goal of, I want to be doing this forever. I want to make this,
Yeah.
especially my passion around everything. I want this to be the most fruitful thing. So I totally love and understand the grind. And of course, thinking about, with your music video side of things, focusing on these different, what shots you want to work on, especially with all the different influences that you have, especially with everything around Japanese culture, it allows, especially from, the music videos I've seen from both of you, from Lucrecia, it allows that to just really flourish in so many different avenues to the point where these music videos can stand out in such a way that, especially from the heavier side of music things, not a lot of others can.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I've always been a big fan of music videos actually all my life. I watch TRL all the time on MTV, and I've just always enjoyed music videos. And then of course I'd see more elaborate ones. I started getting into other music around the world. I watched this channel called International Channel, and they literally played music pretty much all around everywhere from India to Japan to the Philippines, where Frankie is Filipino, and to China. And I listened to all of it, watch all their videos. Koreans are very elaborate with some of their music videos. Sometimes they're like 10-minute long videos, and it's so emotional. And yeah, and then they're able to grab you for the whole time. And I've always liked movies and soundtracks and games and soundtracks, so I've always had this fascination with visuals and music. And I've always just been like this person who I have all these visualizations connect with a lot of my thoughts. So like it was important for me to make music videos that connected with the music too, and hopefully gave somebody like a complete experience, like what I enjoy. So I just, everything I do and Frankie does, we just think about what we would like, and we go like 100%. I don't always know if the music video is gonna get pushed in the algorithm, and it's nice when that happens, but I'm gonna continue to do what's in my heart. And you know um I know that's, some people may think that's too much, some people may like it, but I'm just going to always stay true to what I want to do. So yeah. It's a lot of work, but it makes me really happy to see my ideas on, in the video. And oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's right, oh yeah, oh wow, just, it just really makes me proud to be able to do that.
I think the thing that really struck a chord with me through that whole entire answer was when you were going through a lot of these different music videos and, just watching them, you were seeing music videos from many different places, from many different cultures, from many different ways of thinking. I mean, you brought up India, you brought up, China, you brought up Korea. And when you brought up Korea, because that was one thing I heard you say, 10-minute long videos, very emotional and very, very grand at the same time too.
Yeah.
And I think about where K-pop is in terms of, in terms of culture, specifically American culture, where it is a much larger thing than it was in the past, even the past like 5-10 years.
Never would have thought.
Yeah. Who would have thought? But
Never
but you take a look at, like you said, movies, you take a look at the visual aspects and how a soundtrack or how music can really amplify the emotions that are going into that piece. It really amplifies everything that is going around there. And when you time into a music video too, where the music is going to be the core of what's going on, of course, that video, you want it to tie in and be just as grand as that movie aspect. Because if it's not, then, I mean, how many music videos have we seen, especially on the heavier side of things? I'm using metalcore for example. How many different music videos did we see of bands just playing in forests, of bands playing in abandoned warehouses?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up.
Like literally last night, we were just going through a whole bunch of classic.
Yeah, old like metalcore and like post-hardcore and like deathcore videos and stuff from like the early 2000s.
It's in like, a room, or like you said, in the forest. And he said that like, wow, look at very straightforward idea, and it still worked though. People still loved it,
Mhm.
right? But also there wasn't that many videos. You said like not a lot of bands did a lot of music videos back then. It was actually you could find one or two.
Yeah, I think that it probably just wasn't as financially viable. But yeah, when we were
Yeah.
watching the videos, we noticed that yeah, a lot of bands generally kind of stick to the same general tropes or kind of like styles or aesthetics. And it was just kind of interesting and funny because we can see how like Lucrecia uses some of those things. Like when we do like our performance videos where it's just a straight performance, like we'll do the thing like how we did Grave of the Fireflies. We chose a room kind of similar to how a lot of like like post-hardcore bands would do,
Mhm.
kind of get that feely vibe. But we tried to think of how can we correlate it to the song and how can we correlate it to like our actual visual that we were trying to portray. And for example, like Grave, Suki, when we wrote it about the pain you feel like when somebody you love passes away, which was kind of the generalized overarching feeling we kind of got from the movie Grave of the Fireflies. Like there's a lot more to it. Obviously, it has to do with like a lot of complex things about like war and stuff. But the general, very basic like human emotions that you grasp from is that there's somebody like a brother who loved his sister, and the sister dies, and this person mourns to the point where they can't go on anymore, and they end up passing too. And we tried to like amp or express that through not only the singing and like the body language, but also like the colors of the room, the dark colors, the aspect of the rain, which is something that's shown in the film when the girl dies and stuff like that, to kind of give some like a slight connection there, but to also convey like the feeling that you feel like when somebody you love so very dearly passes. And I feel that a lot of other videos like that we watched when we were watching some of the older ones, like they most definitely have those kind of vibes. But there was like more than a handful of times when Suki and I were watching it, and she was like asking me, she's like, "What do you think they're trying to portray right here in this like scene? Like, what do you think the vibe is?" And there was a couple times where I was like, I can't really tell you. I think you just got a vibe to it because I don't even know if there was much
Because there's
thought.
actors in it.
Yeah, I'm like I don't know
I'm
really what
trying
the
to
thought or the
understand
process
what
what was going into it,
he's
which
doing.
isn't bad. Most definitely, I think like um for like like the beginning of like like the whole like metalcore music video scene and stuff like that, that they people did a lot of really cool things, but you can see that there's a lot of like reoccurring tropes and ideas and stuff like that. And it's cool to see how like how far the different ideas come, and like how much we take those ideas and try to like push them and try to like expand them out more than than they were before.
I didn't grow up with that stuff. So I learned all this stuff way later. So that may explain why I don't have, maybe, I don't know, maybe my perspective is not as limited in that sense, possibly. Because, yeah, I got into like metalcore really late, considering he's been into it since the early 2000s. I found out my first progressive metal band was 2008, and that was Between the Buried and Me. And yeah, just after that, I knew like that's my favorite genre was progressive metal. And I could tell I've been searching for it all my life. But you could see like he already had many, many, many years of experience. He'd been going to shows since he was really little. But he went by himself, and I was at home and a nerd and play games and watch TV, watch music videos. But we have a lot in common too, like the gaming and stuff. Like, so when I telling him my ideas, he thinks they're really cool because we both like anime and games, which is a lot of everything.
Yeah, very grandiose.
Colors, the visuals is very appealing. The music is usually appealing, and the stories are deep and emotional character development. So I just wanted to mention that because maybe that's why my perspective is a little skewed. That I didn't know a lot of these videos or bands until way later. But I love them now. But I missed out a lot on my childhood.
One last thing I want to say is that I think though that because of that though, I think because Suki kind of has a bit of a different perspective, because I grew up listening to some Japanese music, but not as much as Suki. Suki's like a diehard J rock fan growing up. That our ideas and the things that we grew up, we were able to kind of like mesh them together and come up with lots of things because we were like she likes a lot of the aesthetics, that the old videos have, but I most definitely enjoy a lot of like the really grandiose factor that a lot of like old like Visual K, and like J rock bands have. Because just like she said about the K-pop bands, that they, just a lot of Asian music, just in general, with their videos, they're just like really crazy with them. Like are not afraid to like
Yeah.
do the Michael Jackson, like she said, 10-minute long story
video. Yeah,
video.
I always like that. I've always liked that he did that too. Michael Jackson did that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of bands like they don't really have that. So finding that like middle ground, I think, is most definitely something that's been really fun with our videos. Our next video is going to be another video like that, so we're really looking for. That's why she's been doing so much work on the storyboards and all that stuff, because we got a fun little story coming along. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll
I
say,
was
see,
gonna like make it difficult.
yeah. I'll say, see, that does make sense though. But when it comes to, especially with you, Suki, when it comes to just your heavy focus and heavy affiliation with J rock and a lot of the Japanese culture, being so focused in on that, that does bring a much different perspective compared to
Yeah.
Frankie, who's much more in the metalcore side of things and knows how all those different videos work. So when it comes time to putting a video together, it's I even think about it this way. I think about the music videos that have come out metalcore since I really got into it, because I was much later to the game in that one. I didn't really get into it until the start of like 2018, which is
oh okay,
really
cool, that's
really
cool.
late.
That
So
is so bad.
I'm on like year 5 of this, woohoo, and all that stuff. But a lot of things that I've seen is, and a lot of things that I remember is from those videos that are like the older videos. There's some that still stand out with that older
Mm-hmm.
style, like Stick
Yeah.
Stickly by Attack, Shadow
We just
Moses
watched
by
that shit
We
too.
were just watching
Yeah.
all of those.
Yeah.
Shadow Moses by Bring Me the Horizon. That one's always gonna stand out. But as time has gone on, and I think about the music videos that I've watched for different songs that have that same kind of style, especially around today, the only one I can remember is Whatever by Avoid, because they just made fun of all of those tropes in the same video. The ones I remember, though, are the ones that either have that grandiose feel to it, that story-driven feel behind it, and have some sort of connectivity to the visuals that really match with what the song is going on about, or really matches that whole entire story. And the 3 that I can think of are, one is, it kind of goes along with what you guys did with Grave of the Fireflies. I think of Voices by Motionless in White, where it seemed like they were in a room and there wasn't really much going on, but the color filter that was always over the top kept changing, and it changed in a way where it followed along with the LGBTQ rainbow flag from like
wow,
red
that's
to
cool.
orange to yellow, because that song's all about people that are part of the LGBTQ community that were kind of necessarily afraid to speak up or basically, come out at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same time. So
Yeah.
that also funneled in there. It's like, no, that's really cool. I think about
that is
Ice
cool,
Nine.
yeah.
I think about Ice Nine Kills with all of their music videos they've come out with since, the original Silver Scream and now Welcome to Horrorwood. Everything is so tied into every aspect of whatever horror movie they're talking about. They create that whole entire story, and they're all interconnected too, from one, like, and throughout the whole entire album, and it's absolutely incredible. Or I think
Yeah.
about the recent music videos that Falling in Reverse has created, which have that cinematic
Yeah.
feel to them when you watch them,
Oh my
and
gosh.
those are the
Yeah.
ones that stand out the most. So with the influences from all the Japanese music, all the Japanese music videos that Suki has, and then Frankie's knowledge around all the metalcore videos as
Yeah.
well, you have the ability to create a music video that fits very well in with, what, like, kind of that heavier side, knowing what works in that heavier side things, but also
Yeah.
what works in that grandiose way to create not just create a video. It's creating an experience that people want to go through. They don't want to just listen to the song. You want to create that video experience where when people listen to the song, they not only want to listen to the song, but they also want to see the visual aspect around there and what to create, because it's an event. It's not just
Yeah.
there to be a supportive piece.
That's like pretty much my that's where my intentions are coming from. With pretty much everything in my life. I just always like a lot of, visual stimulation, audio stimulation, and some people don't need all that, but again, that's just, I can't help it. It's just what I like. And I just saw that video, Rodney Recky's video, because it blew up on the internet, right? Like
Mhm.
people were like debating on it. And I was like, wow, if I had that budget, oh my gosh, like I like a lot of the videos, I kind of cut a lot out actually because I don't have the money.
Yeah, we actually have a
Oh
lot
my
of better
gosh, I
ideas a lot of times.
like Grave of the Fireflies, I actually wanted to have like my little niece come in and have her with me. We're playing, and then shows her like passing. But it's because I want to like really drive home the feeling. It's hard to watch, but when I wrote this song, I was crying. So like that's the goal. I want people to feel that same feeling that I felt while watching that movie. And it's based on a true story, by the way. I want to tell everybody that whoever's listening that Grave of the Fireflies is based off a true story. It's a biography. And it just shows you many perspectives of people that are dragged into war. and manipulated and stuff. But anyways, yeah, that video was crazy. I wish I had that budget. I actually watched some of the behind the scenes because I was so curious about it. He's got this giant green screen. He's being pulled like this by all these what is it called? Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was like, wow. Oh my gosh, so jealous. Like I would do anything. I'm working really hard to get to that level, I just need that budget. But until then, I'll maximize like what I can do with what feasibly we can do.
Yeah, like the resources we have available.
And I wanted to say this too. Frankie, he does have so much experience with everything. I mean, shows, like he knows everything. I came into this completely green.
Yeah, this is actually her first band.
First band. He took me to my first show, metal show. I think that was 2012.
Something like that. Yeah, that was a while
ago. He knew everybody in the scene. He knows the standard. He knows, okay, when you have this, you all go like do the crab, and like he does help me with that stuff actually, like that culture. Like I know metal, but like I didn't know the culture of metalcore and progressive metal. And so it's funny that you kind of said that because actually he really does help a lot with that. He kind of helps me know the standard. Sometimes I'm like, is that okay? He's like, no, everybody's done that. Like that's so normal in metalcore. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty funny. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I thought that funny.
I mean, that is also kind of funny too, but it just also works within every little aspect, not only around, the production of the music videos, but also being a part of the scene and just with the music you're writing, everything around there where both of you and the rest of the band are creating the music that you're creating with different influences coming from not just different sounds and influence, but different cultures as well to really create this whole overarching sound. And think about with Lucrecia, with your heavy influence within Japanese culture and how that influences the band. I've seen, especially since I've been, alive on the earth and you walking around and whatnot. I've always seen, Japanese culture has, from when I was little, it kind of started creeping in a little bit more, especially once, the Pokemon craze hit. I see you guys got the Yu-Gi-Oh backdrop behind there because that hit super big when I was like in third grade, which was awesome. But then as time has gone on, I mean, especially when you think about it, not only Japanese, but, Asian culture, I have to include Korean culture as well, has blown up not only in the United States, but also in the music scene as well. We're seeing many more people that are, fans of anime, many more content creators, especially even in music too, relating a lot of things to anime, making videos sometimes that have that animated feel to them. And bands that have a much heavier connection to Japanese culture, whether they're Japanese themselves or have some sort of affiliation to that culture, especially within metal, have had a lot of success in terms of people really latching onto them. Love Bites, Band-Maid, Baby Metal, Crystal Lake, Cold Rain. There's a lot going on there. So when it comes to Lucrecia, and of course with the Japanese influence that's there, I do want to know, what is it about the Japanese culture and influence that really is something that you guys connect with and is something that really comes full circle as being a massive influence on Lucrecia as a whole?
You can go first. I feel like I've been talking.
Okay. So for me growing up, I kind of gotten me and Suki's anime store. I mean, like affinity for like otaku
Our
culture.
anime arc is very similar.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. I grew up, in a family with like a lot of kids and stuff like that. So we'd all spend a lot of time like watching cartoons and stuff like that in the morning, together, like on Saturdays and stuff. And I remember when I was like really, really young, way before, not to sound like a snob, but way before Dragon Ball Z came out on Toonami, they used to show it on Fox, on my county's Fox TV channel. After all the regular cartoons would end, like right before, they'd have this nature show with this guy named Jack Hanna that was like, he's like an old cool.
I used to watch that too.
Yeah, he's an old cool nature guy. But that aside, they used to have it on there, and they'd have the original English dub, which was this dub called the Pioneer dub. Before all the really famous voice actors from Dragon Ball Z now became the official team, after they redubbed it a couple times for various reasons. But I watched this original version that only had the episodes. I don't know if you ever watched Dragon Ball Z, but they only had it up to the Namek saga, and they would just rerun it like once they get to the end, they just start it over again. And I would literally just watch it like every Saturday, just on repeat, over and over and over again. And it just really got me into anime and stuff like that growing up. So as I got older, I did for a long time. I didn't know, anime was called anime. I was just like, oh, I like this style of cartoons. And then I'd see more. Like I started getting into like Escaflowne. That was like one of the big animes that came here. And then like Cardcaptor Sakura and like old stuff that my parents watched, like Voltron and like G-Force and stuff like
Speed
that.
Racer.
Yeah, and Speed Racer, and like Macross. And so like my affinity for anime and stuff like that just slowly grew. And as I got older, I met more people that were into it and stuff like that. And then I got into playing like lots of games. And like that just kind of grew with me. And it was just something that I always like held on to. I never really like let go of it. Even when I got older, and people weren't as kind, in my generation about like liking anime or games and stuff like that when they'd say a lot of like, mean things. But I still held on to it. I on Saturday nights I watched like Death Note with my uncle when I was in high school and stuff like that and Bleach. And I just held on to it. And while music was like my main hobby, like I always playing music since I was like 12. I've always had this strong love for like otaku culture. And when I played in various bands and stuff like that. I played in like tech death bands, metalcore bands, like all kinds of different music. I always just had this dream of starting a band centered around this game that I love called Final Fantasy VII. It's like my favorite game of all time. My mom bought it for me when I was like 7 for Christmas, and I to this day it's still like my favorite game. I have if I could turn the tablet around, you'd see like a shelf just full of figures of the main character Cloud. Like I have so many. But yeah, so when I did this, I always wanted to start this band centered around Final Fantasy VII. And I had a bunch of names like based on the names that I thought just sound like the most like like aesthetically beautiful from the game. And one of them was this character named Aerith, and the other one that I really liked was this character named Lucrecia. And at the time, I just didn't really know people that would be interested in the idea. They're like most metal bands or metalcore just in general, they have like a very specific shtick, and especially during like the late 2000s, it was like very like everything was really brutal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All the bands were like super brutal. Singing wasn't really a big part of like metalcore back then. Like it was like the least singing amount as possible was best, if none at all. Sometimes. So like the ideas that I had didn't really like stick with a lot of people. Like I'd pitch it and be like, yeah, I want to start this band, like a progressive metalcore band. It's like centered around this game called Final Fantasy VII. Everyone's like, yeah, I don't know. And when me and Suki met, we went to a concert that she brought up, and we met a band, called Veil of Maya, specifically this guy named Mark Okubo. And he became like a pretty decent friend of ours at the time, and would invite us to like various concerts that they'd have, and like give us backstage passes. And the very first time after we met him at a show, and he was like, "Oh, if you guys want to come hang out, I'll give you like a backstage pass." We went there, and me and Suki got the full like I've been to a lot of shows, like, but I've never been like backstage at a huge ass concert. It was like for like Mayhem or something like that.
Oh,
Like
yeah, it was like Mayhem Nest or something.
yeah, it was like Mayhem Festival, like Warped Tour. It was like a really, really big festival.
Like
Okay.
everybody's got band, like
yeah, everybody had tour buses and shit.
And there's a big like there's dirt everywhere.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we go in their bus and like we hang out with them, and a lot of the guys, like Mark himself, he likes anime and stuff like that. That's why we became friends. Was because he liked anime and games and stuff. And
I heard also at that show.
Yeah, he had a
I
Death Note.
heard
He had a sound clip from Death Note.
And I was like, what? Oh, is that Death Note? And I went up to the singer. He's like, oh, you're talking to the wrong guy. That's Mark. Mark does everything. And I'm like, oh. And then I was like, hey, I really like your clip. And he's like, oh, you recognized it? I think it was like
Yeah.
again 2012
Yeah,
or something.
This is before everyone got really hardcore in anime. So he was surprised.
I was like, yeah, that's hell awesome. Like, I love games and anime, and I love your band. Yeah, I've been listening to their band since 08. Like I said, I found Between the Buried and Me, Veil of Maya, and then Born of Osiris, and After the Burial. Like those are like my really first bands. And so I was hella excited to meet him, and then I heard that, and I was like, I probably got chills. Like I was just like, I want to do this.
Yeah, so he invited us to the concert.
There was no singing in Veil of Maya at the time, though. Remember that, okay? He had Brandon Butler.
Oh, yeah.
Brandon Butler was in the band. There was absolutely no singing whatsoever. I remember the moment like they had to change vocalists. So I just want to say this, and he's like, "Wow, they want us to do like sing now," and I was like, "Oh wow, okay." And like I heard some of the auditions or whatever, and I was like, "Dang, that guy, who's this?" He said, "Oh, his name's Lucas Magar." I said, "Oh, he's really good." He's like, "Think so?" I was like, "Yeah, he's really good." He was doing runs and stuff. Like he brought a little bit of R&B into it. And I said, I'm just gonna say I think he's the best one. And then they, of course, they probably thought the same thing because it was obvious. And then ended up going with them. And then singing began in Vela Maya. Okay, so I only had like very little bands to be inspired by. It was like he said, there wasn't a lot of singing, screaming, and then on top of that, what girls sang and screamed? I was like, I had nobody to, give me courage to do that, but except for Dance Gavin Dance.
I feel it. But so back to what I was saying.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You got on a tangent.
No, it's just like a lot of exciting things that actually had to do with that, so I didn't want to bring it up later.
I feel it. So yeah, we went to this concert or whatever. We got like the full band like experience, and she was like, wow, this is really cool. They go and they get to do the things that they love every day. They get to hang around with their friends, like play games. Because we don't play Madden, but in the back of Vale's bus, like the old singer and the drummer, and then a bunch of other people from like Suicide Silence and some of the dudes from Darkest Hour were all playing Madden back there. And she's like, wow, this is sick. Everyone's there playing games. They're all having a great time. They're playing shows, hanging out with their friends. Like, this seems like a lot of fun. And she after expressed like, hey, Frankie, I know you know a lot of people in the scene. Would you be interested in like, starting a project or something like that? And at that moment, I was like, I instantly thought about my Lucrecia idea. And I was like, yeah, actually, I would be pretty interested. And I pitched the idea. I was like, I know. And I knew that she actually liked the same game. That obviously she likes Final Fantasy 7 too. I was like, well, hey, I have this idea, blah, blah, blah. And I pitched it. And she's like, yeah, I'd be down to do that. That sounds pretty cool. So, we're like, that's kind of where like the otaku thing kind of started with Lucrecia. And from there, we tried to get some bandmates. That's like another story. But, as the band grew in itself, it started just as a 2-man project. And we got more people and we started writing songs. Rhapsodus was like the first song that we wrote that was specifically about Final Fantasy 7. And after that, we started thinking about it. And as great as a game Final Fantasy 7 is, eventually you'll run out of things to talk about because it's just one singular story. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they do have lots of like branching stories that you could technically like write stuff from, but eventually, like, I feel like you're eventually going to run out and you're going to have to like choose something else or find some other way to write about something, or just like rehash the same thing, which is, not even from a creative standpoint, rehashing the same thing over and over again is fun. So, we was like, okay, well, what about if we did stuff about just, anime altogether? Because, we like anime and there's so many like awesome and amazing stories in Japanese role-playing games and anime and manga that it's like so easy, for us at least to, write about it. Because, we get a lot out of these stories, and it's not just like a story to us. Like when we read it, something like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like we get like real, like real life lessons and real things that we take from it. And we're just like, we feel like enriches us as a person, once we're done reading. So we're like, we can share those same
like any other book or movie.
Yeah, just like exactly.
It's just people just don't. I mean, now they do, but they didn't know that you can learn the same kind of values and things from manga and anime as movies. So as any serious movie.
So we tried to kind of just from there kind of take those values and things that we think are important, like human values that people should know, like whether it's hope or not giving up or dealing with like certain emotions like anger and just different things like that, but like correlating them through these like stories as a medium to speak about it, I guess, and relate like our own personal lives with what the character's talking about in the story. And then we kind of just went from there and kind of just kept writing songs about it, and I guess haven't really stopped since.
See, now that makes a lot of sense too, in terms of you had with the idea that you had, especially with the strong affiliation to Final Fantasy 7, because even if I think about it too, if I want to start a band and have the focus be around my favorite video game, I'm not sure how much I could go off of that myself, man, because I'm not sure how much. I'll say I'm not sure how much you could go off of a collect-a-thon game when it comes to creating a whole entire story. You never know. But what it kind of parallel to kind of like with me with this podcast, well, because I start out in a completely different idea, and then I just kind of tried a couple of different things, and it evolved from one spot to the next, and it grew into this, and now it's like, okay, this keeps growing, just keeps evolving. From your perspective, it's both of you had such a strong affiliation to Japanese, such a strong affiliation to anime and Final Fantasy 7 as well. So it kind of started out with that, like, okay, something based off of Final Fantasy 7, get the ideas from there. But like you said, Frankie, there's only a certain amount that you can go off of that, because it is, for the majority, one story, and you can't get much off that. But as you expand further out into the culture, broaden it a little bit to, okay, now let's go to anime. Let's see kind of how this works in it. There's so many different series, so many different things that are going on there, so many different stories that are being told in so many different ways, to where when you're trying to reference something, you're trying to focus in on maybe what this value is being talked about in this specific way. You have a lot of experience, a lot of, not say experience, but a lot of examples and a lot of influences to work off. I was trying to think of influences, but I couldn't actually get the word
virtually
out.
limitless, in my opinion.
A lot of people relate to a lot of these things in anime.
Yeah,
a lot of people connect with it deeply.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think that a lot of people, at least nowadays, I don't think so much anymore. I think a lot of
people cry when Eris died.
Yeah, I think,
like really.
Yeah, I think people back then didn't really grasp it as much, that like stories in a game or an anime or whatever, even in like a comic sometimes too, can have these deep values, but they do. And I feel that by us kind of like projecting those out there and hearing people say like, oh, when you wrote the song, I connected to it, and especially when they say that they like the anime too. I'm not gonna lie, when they say like, hey, I saw you wrote the song about this anime and I connected with the song and I really enjoyed it because I also like the anime. It's really cool because you feel like that strong connection with that person.
They get it.
But even so, when people don't, like somebody who's like, I've never watched JoJo, but like I listen to your song and I read the lyrics and I can feel the passion that you have for, not giving up on your dream and blah, blah, blah. And they can get the vibe. That's the thing that I really, really, really enjoy.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I feel all these stories have something that somebody can take away from it, but you have to just be willing and open to like essentially like let it into your heart, I guess.
Yeah.
And just feel it.
Like they say, oh, you can look at it like, okay, One Piece, oh, he's a pirate, okay, getting some treasure. How are you gonna write about that? But I'm sure he goes through so many like trials and tribulations, and there could be an episode where it's something really difficult. Maybe his friend passes away or something like that. So like it's easy to, of course, to like, if you just look at it like that, then you can't really find anything. But this is all years and years of watching and playing, and like I was just thinking of one of our songs that is going to come out hopefully this year is Chapter Black, and that was influenced when I watched Yu Yu Hakusho. It was like one of my earliest animes, like early 2000s. But there's this one episode where this human character betrays the human race and sides with the demons, and the main character Yusuke is like, what the hell? Like, why would you do that? You're an idiot. Because in the show, it's clear that they're bad, right? So he was like just very perplexed about it. And he says, well, I saw this video and it's a magical videotape, literally magical, that has the entire human history of atrocities that have been committed. So like literally terrible, terrible, terrible things. He said that, and when he watched it, he completely did away with the human race. He said he couldn't even look at him after, which makes sense because you're seeing all the horrible things they've done. And we all know humans have done really, really bad things, and they still continue to do bad things. So when I watched that episode, I got chills, and I said, I want to make a really angry, heavy song about this. Like, I have to. First of all, I love Yu Hakusho. I love this fucking episode. And I can't get this out of my mind, like I have to like get it down. And so like we wrote it, and I came up with this elaborate video influenced by like Silent Hill and horror stuff. And I want it to be like the terrible. I want it to just be like torture and like all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, but it's again to like drive a point home. And yeah, so like that's just an example of something way that I've watched way in the past. It's coming back circle to now, and it's like we wrote it. You just need to do the video. But I probably watched that episode maybe 1999 or something like that. And I have a tattoo on my leg of Yu Hakusho. Like, that really struck a chord with me because I am very like sensitive to a lot of things like that, like hurting humans or animals or kids. That really affects me. Like, it actually, before I met Frankie, I had really bad anxiety and I couldn't like leave my room, and it was really hard. But he's like helped me a lot. He encouraged me to pursue music. I never was going to pursue music. I never thought I could do it. I was like, I'm not good enough. No one's going to want to listen to a girl scream. Like, I suck. Like, it's just impossible. And he's like, and he showed me like some examples of like the few girls that he knew at the time, like what's her name? Wall of Jericho.
Oh, well, there you go,
Walls
yeah.
of Jericho, and I was like, wow, dang, she sounds really good. Like little things like that, to like really encourage me gently to like pursue it. And like he said, he was actually in a band called Blazer Amada at the time, and they actually kind of like fell apart completely. And I just began talking about this, and it kind of lined up perfectly because that was his main passion, was his band play. He put everything into it, and it completely disintegrated. And he still wants to do music, and I never got to do music. So he was like, "Well, let's do that together then." And we both like Dance Gavin Dance, and you like R&B, and you want to sing R&B and like metal, and I'm like, "Yeah, can it be done?" But Issues came out, right? So we saw that they can be done. But anyways, yeah, it's crazy. Like stuff from our childhoods have influenced us so much over these years that like we still think about it. And of course there's new things that come out, so there's always something to write about. I'm always like, I always get chills with something. So um but actually I never got to my anime arc, but that's okay. It's like I feel bad like talking so much.
Oh, I'd say don't feel
Yeah.
bad about talking so much. I mean, that's the whole entire point of the podcast, is to get to know whatever artists I bring on, get to know who they are, get to know about them, and to be able to connect with them in a certain way where it's like, hey, I want to listen to this artist, but I want to get more of this based off the fact that their sound is awesome, and now I have this deeper connection to them. And even listening through your experiences as well, especially with anime, and really going through everything there to create this concept and just everything else around there, getting into music, how everything played out. I'm just going to go back to anime for the example. There are so many different stories, so many different story arcs that happen in so many different series, so many different animes where they're created in such a way from, even though I'm not really a big fan of anime myself, I've never gotten into it. But one thing I can always understand is there is a certain affiliation to it based off of the way that the stories are told. People connect with them in such a positive way or such a strong emotional way where, like you said, there's an anime character. You met never. It's just a creation, just a picture. But just
Yeah.
the story that's being told around there, the emotion gets built up when something happens to that character. When they triumph,
Yeah.
you feel like powerful inside because the
Yeah.
character that you really connect with finally triumphed. If that character unfortunately dies and it's a very emotional thing, you feel that impact, and you're going through the rest of your day and it's just you're feeling that because those stories help us process our emotions and help us understand certain things that we feel. So we're so tied deeply into certain things. What is it like when one of our favorite characters ends up getting killed on a show? If we're so tied into that show, if we're very invested and that happens, we're going to feel like we lost something that was really close, because now that character is not coming back anymore. And not, we feel like something's missing because we were so heavily emotionally invested in it. But it also can speak to just, the people that we really care about in our own lives, where if something were to happen to them, it helps us see the beauty in the fact that we have these different relationships and how close we are to them, how impactful there is, how much of a more of a positive side of things they bring to us.
Yeah.
It's all about telling these stories that we can relate to. And with your music as well, focusing in on those stories, it's another way for all of us to understand those stories in a different light, especially from my side too, because I'm just not as into the source material, but I'm into the music. So once I'm into the music, I might not be able to pull out exactly where you were influenced from by this, but I'm able to pull out what emotion there's trying to be portrayed there, and then relate it to what has happened in my life so that it gets a larger connection to myself.
Is everything that we've written about, although it may be from watching something, both of us have related it to real life every single time. Like when we wrote Antipathy, which is a Hunter x Hunter song.
Yeah, it's like the second song. It's pretty old.
Just to say, actually, in case anybody doesn't know, Yu Yu Hakusho was this guy's other manga and anime. The one I talked about, Chapter Black. He went on to make another one called Hunter x Hunter. I also love that very much. I mean, he put a lot of himself into it, And there's this character that you grow to really like, and he gets killed in a terrible, terrible way, and it really hurts the main character. Like that was like his father figure, like he took care of him. He was broken, he was broken. And Frankie, he's dealt with a lot of loss in his life. He lost his mom at a young age and unexpectedly, and others, so like when we watch those scenes, it's very real because like we think of the people that actually we lost, or or in general someone just terrible things happen to people that don't deserve it. And so that's why it's easy for us to write it in a way that it's not just like, okay, then I'm charging up and then I'm gonna beat the world, yeah, like you could say corny and straightforward and to the point, which rap does it cool, by the way. Like they'll talk about like kamehamehas and stuff and all that, like, which is like Goku's blast, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, they got good wordplay. That's
Like
why.
they'll
The wordplay is
actually
good
like
in hip-hop.
reference like directly a lot, is what I'm trying to say. Like it's very on the nose, as they say. But for us, it's kind of blurs between reality and the anime. And if you don't know the anime, you can probably still relate to it because it's written from a place of like real feelings and emotions.
Mhm.
I never lost my little sister like in Grave of the Fireflies, but I am the biggest sister. I'm the oldest out of all my siblings, and I imagine being in his shoes at 14 or 13, his parents dying from the war, and on his own, no money, no food. He has to steal food for farmers. He gets beat. His sister slowly is dying from malnourishment. He can't get food for her. He's left alone. No one wants to help him. No one cares. They walk right by him. They don't care. There's two starving children literally dying. I imagine like, wow, what if I was in those shoes? Like, how horrible, how terrible. Like, can anybody just help this kid? Like, dang, it's just like so frustrating for me. And it's a lot of emotions. I'm just saying it's many, many layers. I can always put myself in their shoes. I'm very like that type of person. So that's why I think people can still connect to our music even if they don't watch anime. And who knows, maybe they'll connect to it so much, maybe they'll watch that particular anime and then maybe they'll see why we love it so much and other people love it, and maybe it opens new doors. There's lots of people who never listened to metal before, but because we write about anime and games, we brought new people into the metal genre. And it's been stagnant for a very long time, in my opinion. I feel like metalcore has been kind of difficult, but lately it seems like it's coming back. But you know what I mean? Like there was like that lull, and like Vela Maya was having a hard time, and then they got the singer, and it kind of started turning around. Like I'm just saying, like it was kind of hard. And everybody, I remember Mark saying like, we can't get new people into the scene. Like if you see the shows, it's not packed. Like they're not packed. They're not always packed. Like they were before in the 2000s. And he said, I remember Periphery getting on a cover of something. Like I forget what crazy magazine they were on. It was just like, what are they doing there? But he said, oh, that's good. That's great. That's going to bring in new fans to the genre. And so like, I kept that in mind. I listened to that. And when I go to anime cons, I say, hey, you like baby metal? Or if you like anime? And I sell it that way. And they're like, I never listened to metal. Wow. But, your singing really draws me in, and then influences. And they start to listen to other metal bands.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's cool. Like, I love that.
We've even had a couple fans too that weren't like, kind of like you were mentioning, that weren't really into anime or Japanese music at all. After they liked metalcore and stuff like that, but they're like, I listened to your band and I saw a lot of like the aesthetics and stuff that you guys bring, and I think they're like really interesting and they seem really cool. So I decided to check out some other Japanese bands. Our guitarist, he hasn't really been with us recently. He's from this other Japanese band called Pale Dusk, actually. The fan was like, yeah, I found this band called Pale Dusk, which was funny enough, our guitarist band. He's like, and then he named off a few other bands that I like Cold Rain and Sable Hills, and he was like, yeah, if I never really heard your band, I would have never really actually got really interested in checking out other bands' music and stuff. But I saw, you had Kaito from Pale Dust, that made me kind of interested. And they kind of grew from there. So it's kind of cool in that aspect too, because not only just sometimes like introducing non-metal fans to metal or non-anime fans to anime, it's like introducing people to like whole other perspectives of music and
new
stuff
worlds,
like that.
like completely new worlds, and it's exciting. And I remember finding these worlds for the first time. I just love to be able to help people have that feeling, because I feel like I know everything at this point, almost everything. So when I find something new, I'm like so excited, and I'm just glad that other people can discover new things, because I mean, some of them are in their 20s, like they still have their whole life ahead of them, and broadening your perspective can make anyone just a better person. Like that, like they say, like people who travel a lot and try to, like, they go to other countries, they eat their food, they learn some of their customs, some of their traditions, like it's just proven that they are more emotionally intelligent for the most part. It's just like
More accepting. Yeah.
It's always better to just try, and if you don't like it, it's okay, but just try it out, and then maybe, you never know. Don't like be stagnant. You have, like I said, there's so much out there, and like you're gonna miss out if you are closed-minded. But again, it's not guaranteed you're gonna like it, but being closed-minded is gonna only like hurt you, and you can't grow as a person, and also you're missing out. It's just so much more fun, but yeah.
Oh yeah, being closed-minded is, you're not taking a shot at anything, and we all know the phrase, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott, have to throw that in there.
Sorry, one more thing about that. So one of my friends said he hates singing. He said he never listened to bands with singing in it.
Yeah, he tried and true metal hand.
Hates it. He's got his blinders on like this, like a horse. But because we're friends, and we invited him like to play on stage with us. Like he was really depressed at the time, and his band wasn't doing so hot, and he just, well, that's his dream too, is music, right? So we said, well, hey, come to the show. We'll have a good time. We'll play some games, because we always bring Smash Brothers to all our shows, and we'll put it on the merch table. We'll cut loose. You could perform a piece of, like, I think it was Femto, which is inspired by Berserk. It's Femto, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and I didn't know. I just thought, like, I could tell he wanted to do some vocals. He's a pretty good vocalist, so I was like, yeah, let's make it brutal, because he's pretty brutal, and that's a really heavy song. He said that changed him. He said that gave him a fire in him, like that reignited the fire within him, and by doing that, he accepted our music, because he said these guys like lighted that fire, so he can't, he has that strong bond with that moment and with us, and that's just human connections forming. That's just how it is. That's how bonds are formed. You can, like, it sounds like kind of science, but it's true. It's just like forming these connections and these moments of happiness, and if they're strong enough, they can open your mind. And so he started opening his mind, and now he can listen to some music with singing in it, which is crazy, because he said he absolutely hated it. He told me over and over again. I was like, okay, I get it. He hates singing. And he's like, your band's the only one. But I think lately it's been even better for him. Like, he's been more open-minded. But that's all. It's like from many perspectives. It's like people who never listen to metal, people who never hated singing, and we bring both those people together at the same show, and they're friends, and they're playing Smash together,
No, absolutely. You're creating the opportunity for people to get into either of your influences, whether it's from the the more metalcore side of things, or whether it's from the Japanese anime influence side of things. Because I kind of picking apart some of the things that you said. Metalcore, after taking a look into, of course, I didn't get into it until like 2018, 2019. After I've talked about this in the podcast, after Bring Me the Horizon released Sempiternal, it was like every band just got the same, and like nothing really kept going.
You know how many times people say exactly what you're saying?
Yeah, I was really talking about that the other day. But carry on though, carry on.
Yeah.
So people interviewing us too. It's funny.
Yeah. So it's like everything got the same. Everything got stagnant to the point where, I've had this conversation before. You think about bands that are in like that metal, like more of that metalcore scene. What are some bands that were either in that scene or still in that scene that could potentially play arenas, or we said play Madison Square Garden like on a consistent basis? And the only one I could think of was Bring Me the Horizon. Yeah. But what we've seen over the past couple of years is bands have gotten, especially on the metalcore side, bands have gotten interesting again. And the way they've gotten interesting is they are basically taking what their influences are and putting them into the music in such a way where if you're a part of the culture of that influence or you're a part of the music side of it, you're able to have this open mind and be able to get into different things. How many horror music fans that didn't like metalcore are now so into metalcore because Ice Nine Kills came out and made it absolutely gangbusters? From your perspective as well, I mean, for myself, I'm not into anime, but I like the music you guys created. Yeah. So if I want to go and see, okay, where'd this song come from, I'm more influenced to go there. But if someone is very heavily connected with whatever anime you guys are referencing and whatever song it is, and you tell them about it, okay, and you bring it up, now they're going to be interested in seeing, okay, this band has a very, very, very strong influence in things that I am very passionate about and I like, whether it's the culture, whether it's anime, whether it's a specific story, whatever it could be. But it gives them the opportunity to say, hey, I want to check this out because I want to see maybe how close it comes to what I feel about it. And it absolutely connects. Yeah. And not only that, but there's some other bands out there now that are really working in some different ideas. And when they're bringing these different ideas to the forefront and mixing it with their metalcore style, this is where the genre is really starting to kind of, pick up some steam and grow again. I mean, take a look at what happened in 2021 with Spirit Box. It was just hearing Courtney LaPlante's vocals. It was like, holy fucking shit. It was kind of like there was a female vocalist out there that could scream just as heavy as the guys and was as accessible to the scene, similar to like Ginger with Tatiana, because hearing her scream is like hearing like some of the heaviest guys out there scream. 2022, Bad Omens comes out with Death of Peace of Mind, and yeah, they have some of their heavier stuff on there, but they're mixing so many different other ideas together, and it really pops off. And now we're into 2023, and look at what's happening with Sleep Token already. I mean, it's incredible to watch, but it's just now that bands are kind of taking. Not everyone's doing the same thing. It's everyone's maybe, has the same idea when it comes to metalcore, but when it comes to the influences and how those influences really play into the music, it's allowing people that are not as into metal to get into the music based off of the other influences that are coming in there. And when it comes to Lucrecia, I mean, what you're saying, all the anime stuff, everyone's able to connect with that, especially if they have some affiliation to anime, to video games, whatever it might be. And when you're at those shows, like, I have not heard of a band to put Smash Bros. On the merge table and have people come up and play, but if I saw that, I would be like, first off, I would love to do that in between sets, though, because once that set starts and that pit forms, I'm just
most people leave when the set starts.
Yeah, to be honest, sometimes, and if they do want to stay, I'll usually try to cut them off just to be respectful to the other bands, because I want people to watch when we play. I don't want them to play. I wouldn't want them playing Smash Bros. When I'm playing some let's watch the band. We can play Smash again in like 20 minutes. We'll be okay.
Some of them are our nerdy friends, and they have a hard time, like being in the crowd in general. They don't even go to shows. Like, they literally don't go to shows at all. Like, they again, we're their first metal band, so they wouldn't be there honestly, like, without us sometimes. But at the same time, most people are cool. Like, they stop and they start watching the show. And then, we can always just turn it off the TV. So, and also, like, it's great because it's right next to the stage. So, like, the only time it's like, I gotta really make sure, like, to turn it off is when it's outside. If they put us outside the venue, like, they'll put our merch table outside the venue, and then right when the show's inside, then we have to, like, okay, all right, show's over, all right, go in there, sometimes, right? But most of the time it works out. We don't have to, like, micromanage too much. And it brings a lot of people. Like I said, I tell people, hey, you should come to the show. And they're like, I've never been to the show. I'm like, well, I got Smash Brothers. They love Smash Brothers. I can't get them in there, the foot in the door sometimes, without selling something that they want. Like I said, either supporting us or like, hey, you're really, like, they're quiet. They're nerds. They stay at home. They don't leave their house. You have to understand, they don't go to any shows. They don't go anywhere. Some of them now, like, go to shows, so I do know that, and I try not to, like, make it rude or anything, but I just want to put that perspective out there, because a lot of people don't know. Like I said, some of these people never even been to a show before, so they wouldn't even be there without without me
Okay.
like bribing them in a way.
Oh, totally understand. And I really want to just dive into this for a quick second because I'm thinking about this when it comes to the rock and metal scene. It's kind of like why do people like the rock and metal scene? Why do us metalheads go to these shows all the time? And for people like myself, why do we jump into those pits and go ape crazy, willing to put ourselves in harm's way at a
Yeah,
show? Why do we? It's because we love it, and I love seeing
yeah,
all the random people I get to see at shows. I mean, it's at a point where I wear the same hats at every single show. So if I'm here in Milwaukee, if I go to Mass, Wisconsin, if I go down to Chicago, it's kind of cruel because like 10 people will know me just based off of that. Do I remember their names?
hmm,
Not really, because at times I just don't really remember names all too well. But
yeah,
I
Yeah,
remember the faces. I'm like, I know I've seen you at this show, this show, this
yeah.
show,
It
this
becomes a
show.
community.
Yeah, it builds that community. It builds that
Yeah,
family feel that we all absolutely love. And from your perspective, it's again, you're connecting with people that might be looking for that, but maybe just aren't comfortable going to those shows based off of just experiences that they've had in the
yeah,
past in terms of just through their lives and just aren't comfortable with being in that social environment. But they really
yeah,
connect with maybe the like the focus of the music, whether it's the influence from anime, influence from video games, whatever it
yeah,
might be. But you're also creating this thing where it's like, okay, how can we potentially get that foot in the door? If you're gonna have Smash Bros on the merge table, they're gonna be interested in that, and that's gonna be an incentive for them to show up because it's like, hey, I can play Smash Bros with maybe a band that I like because of the influence they have. And then you're
yeah,
able to do that. But now when the show starts, it's like, well, now I gotta wait to go play Smash Bros. But I'm here. I can't just go home because I paid money for this ticket. Let's go in and watch the show and see what happens. But then you get to have these fans that may not have really been as affluent in the social area start to
yeah,
feel that because now you're part of this metal family that's at these shows
yeah.
where you see someone the pick get absolutely rocked. Why are 5 people rushing to that person right away to pick them back up? Because that is the rule and that is what family does.
And they're
So
learning that.
it just adds to everything, and
Yeah,
it might give people that are very shy, that don't like to go out and be in those social situations, that like the
exactly.
stuff that you do, more confidence to do that, and then they could be potentially off to the races with coming, doing the stuff they love, connecting with more people that love the exact same stuff that
Yeah,
they do, finding more stuff that they could potentially enjoy, like music, like going to live shows, and just create this whole entire arc where their whole lives could potentially change because you had Smash Bros
yeah.
at the merch table.
And
I feel it.
I'm just saying, I was one of those first people. I said earlier, I had anxiety. I couldn't leave my room. It was really difficult to get me out. I felt scared of meeting people. I felt scared of not having connections and just being the person in the corner, you know? And at first, I want to mention that everybody who buys a ticket from us is very respectful. Like, our community is very nice. Like, we have a very nice community. I'm very proud of it. They're very respectful of each other. They respect the other bands we're playing with. Um, like they're not that person where they're not respecting the time of the other bands and stuff. So I just also want to say that I'm proud of that as well. It's very inclusive. But for me, like having that little screen where I can like kind of go up to and it gives me something to look at and do, and I don't have to worry about talking to people at first, but then you play with someone and then you make your first friend, and then of course you already have us there, but like literally just playing with each other, seeing each other on a show, listening, like they're friends now. They're all
Yeah,
like friends now, so that's like I just wanted to mention that real quick. Sorry, Frankie.
that's okay. I have something to say off what you said
But
actually.
I'm just saying from my perspective, I had terrible time leaving my room, and I just want to say that when I had that to look forward to, it encouraged me to go out. And not only that, like you said, changed my life, changed my circle. I found new bands. I'm just saying like that would totally be me in that situation. So I want to advocate for those people too. They want to go out. They're just absolutely terrified, or, you know, they're afraid they won't connect with anyone. But I tell them, hey, I literally tell them this. I say, everybody there is awesome. All the fans, the friends, their fans and friends, the Lucrecia Club. That's what we call it Lucrecia Club for a reason. It is a club. I said, you're invited to the club, and everybody is gonna like you. And I introduced them to everybody. like it really brings people out that would have never been able to go out. And I just want to say that. So I know it might sound crazy to people who go to shows all their lives. But like I said, these people they never listen to metal sometimes. So you have to like understand it from their perspective. But they're very respectful and they're not going to be rude like that. And a lot of them are like members of the metal community now. But yeah, go ahead.
So to kind of go off what Suki was saying, we've actually been told by a couple like bigger sign bands that we're friends with. They asked us a couple times. They said, "Hey, dude, how do you guys like do what you do?" And I'm like really confused at first. I'm like, "What do you mean like do what we do?" I'm like play music or like what do you mean? He's like, well, like your communities, like you guys are like really, really great at building a community. And they say like bands like us, it's really hard, to kind of do that stuff and interact with your community the way you guys do and get so much positive feedback and response. And I tell them, to be honest, I say it's not really anything. We just try our best to just be friends with everybody. And to in that regard, like what Suki was saying about the Lucrecia Club thing, the whole idea of the Lucrecia Club, aside from the name, was this like idea we had when we decided to go on our first tour. And when we went on our first tour, Suki she was the only person in the band that never played a show. We actually I'll just a quick side story. We BS'd on our first tour. We put out our song Brotherhood and it did well on the internet. And we got approached by the person who's our manager now, funny enough, who was managing another band.
Now,
yeah, he knows now, but he was managing another band then.
For a while, yeah, I never played a show.
They found out halfway through the tour.
Shows, so half of it was true.
Yeah, all of us in the band had already played shows.
I was the only one. I'm not going to let the band be held back because I haven't played shows. They all were very experienced.
Yeah, we'd all been pretty seasoned. We at the time just a quick anecdote. We because like I had mentioned, me and Suki were like the two sole members. We essentially hired a band of musicians that we knew that were all like solid musicians, but didn't necessarily have time for the band at the moment. After the tour, they all decided they wanted to be in Lucrecia. Like, wow, this is fun. But at the time, we were like, hey, we need some musicians. We got asked to go on this tour, and Suki was like, hey, I never toured before. This seems hella fun. I really want to go. So we did it. And we booked the tour without having her having any prior show experience whatsoever. And we were just like, it's not hard. Same thing you do at practice. Like, just interact with people this time. I have
stage fright.
So, but, I digress though. So, but before we went on the tour, she said that she always wanted to try to build like a community. She'd always talk about different kinds of people that she wanted to make Lucrecia inclusive to. A lot of females, because at the time, there wasn't there's always been a lot of female like metal fans and like hardcore fans and stuff like that. But as far as like front women go at the time, there wasn't really too many. Like there was Cheney Crab from Entheos had just like really gotten popular, and then Tatiana from Ginger, obviously. But there wasn't really too many. There was obviously some old bands like I Said to Kill and stuff, but
and I wrestled the bear once.
Yeah, and I wrestled the bear once, who was like a big influence on us. But there wasn't really too many females like that. So she said she wanted to try to like make it more inclusive to females, to let them know like you could be a part of this too, to like other nerds, like
kawaii merch, even just everything to make everybody feel
other anime fans and stuff like that, and just lots of different people. And so when she was when we were thinking about this, we're like, well, what's a good way, like how can we talk to people? Because at the time she'd never really played shows. She was still very kind of antisocial, and I myself am pretty antisocial.
Yeah.
I always joke around and say because Suki's kind of like if I were to say like this was an anime, she'd be like the main character, and then I'm like kind of like the silent side character that I speak when I need to, but I'm more soft spoken than she is. But like how can people like us that are a little often shy when it comes to just approaching people like at a party or anything like that, how are we going to approach other people and make friends with these other people? And outside of just our music, because it's hard just to just see a random person and say I'm going to go up to that person and try to pitch my band and to make them my friend, like it's kind of nerve wracking, but we're like, Smash. At the time we'd all been playing Smash a lot with our friends, and we'd started going to tournaments maybe like a year prior to that, and we saw through like playing at the tournaments and stuff like that how a situation where we knew nobody and we kind of were like the new kid in class kind of type of thing, how through playing these games with people and just doing things that we love, like she was talking about, like really lowered that natural guard that we have as people, and like for people that are kind of antisocial or introverts, and kind of helped us. And by the end of our first tournament, we were friends with everybody. We're having a great time talking like we knew everybody for like years. So we're like, we
battle each other a lot, the two bands, us and A Perfect Being.
Yeah, so we're like, we need to kind of build do do something that we can feel comfortable in and talk to people as well as other people. And so that's how kind of the Smash thing started. We brought it, as a way for us to feel comfortable at our table, when we're sitting there, just so we're not stiff when they come up like, hey, how's it going? Like for some businessman or something. And from there, as we kind of like on our first tour, garnered our first set of like real like live fans and stuff like that. We kind of saw that, we were like slowly attracting, more people as the shows kind of went on. And yeah, it really, really helped. We'd see, like Suki was saying, like people come up to the table and, say, hey, I heard about your band. I've only been to like maybe one show or maybe no shows at all. I really like you guys, and we'll bring them over. Like, hey, we'll come hang out with us. Usually they'll find us at the bar or something like that. They usually never find us at the table, funny enough. And we'll tell them like, hey, we got a table over there. We got like Smash Bros. We all just hang out at the table. If you want to hang out, we can talk for as long as you want. We can play some games. Usually they'll usually be kind of like apprehensive and a little shy at first, but Suki's like a really, really, really good. Even though she's pretty shy, she's really good at making people feel comfortable and stuff like that. So she'll, eventually coerce them into coming over, and they'll be a little shy, and they'll be like, I'm not really good at games, and she'll be like, Smash is a game for everybody. We can all have fun. Like, don't worry. Nobody else here has ever played Smash before. If they did, they never play it. They just, whatever the reason is, but we can all have fun. And, like you'll see after like a game or two of them playing and, conversing and everyone just kind of having like a good time together, that, like their guard most definitely you can see lowers, and they'll be laughing and talking. And the person that we saw that was their first show there, like 4 or 5 shows later, we'll see them still coming to our show over and over again. And in like the year, we've only really been playing shows, to be honest, for about 2 years, because we started in 2019, and then halfway into 2019, or like the end of 2019, COVID hit, so it kind of took us out the game. And then we started playing again last year. So we've only really been playing for about 2 years, but in the 2 years that we've been playing, and even during the COVID lull, when we came back to playing, all the same people that that Suki and myself had tried to connect with and bring to be a part of like our little club, they still come back. And you can see like how, what she's talking about, the community like growing, where they'll come and they'll see if another fan, they'll say, hey, like for example, one of our fans and friends is actually here right now. His name's Mark, so I'll use him as an example. Somebody will come in, they'll see Mark, they'll say, hey Mark, how's it going? And they'll shake hands or hug, and they'll start playing Smash. And it's just like like they've been friends like their whole lives and stuff like that.
They're
and
all friendly with each other after
yeah,
that,
it's super friendly. So
it's like I said, they exchange information. Like, everybody knows each other, and anybody who hasn't been to our show that found us, maybe like I remember at the show in Sacramento at the Den of Sin, we had some new fans that never came to our show before. And you could tell they're really shy approaching the table, and I understand that too, because I have a very hard time approaching people that I like too in bands. I feel very shy and awkward and nervous. But they have the Smash, and so they just kind of get closer and closer, and they start watching people play Smash. And then I'll say, "You want to play?" Like, yeah, they're go. And they'll say, "Okay." And then some of them are girls, and I could tell they want to approach the table. They're just like really nervous about it. And again, this is coming from personal experiences and perspective. I understand how they feel, but I don't want them to have to feel that way, because I don't want them to feel nervous. There's no reason to. I'm just a regular person, and I'm a nerd. So that's why I say, oh yeah, go ahead, yeah, no problem. And little kids too, little kids like 4, 5, 6 years old, 8 years old, who like we have one a dad and a son that comes to a lot of our Sacramento shows, and he loves us the most. He doesn't even listen to the other bands unless like we're playing with them. Like he just is like, we're like his number one. And he's shy too. We come, I played games with them. Say, okay, want to team up? And he's like really happy and excited, and then we take a picture together, and like he's influenced for life. Like he's going to be coming to shows for the rest of his life now, probably. Now he wants to be in a band.
Yeah, sure. He told us.
So he's practicing screaming every day now.
Oh,
and
wow.
He's like 6 or 7.
Yeah, he's like a little baby, really little baby, but he's super cute though.
And yeah, he's literally like, he's doing it. Like I can hear it too. Like I can hear he's gonna get it down soon. Like I remember like when I first tried, I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar. So like, I just don't want people to think bad about it, because if anything, like it seems like it's only made it better. And people, the other bands, like everybody in the show loves it. And usually as soon as the set starts playing, like it was in Seattle, everybody turned immediately and towards the show, So like I just don't want people to think like negatively of it. It actually helps a lot and it brings the community together and like yeah, I don't know. I'm very like passionate about that. I've seen so many positive things from it. Like I just don't want people to get the wrong idea.
Oh, I understand. And kind of like just to wrap this up as well, the one thing that kind of started out that whole entire piece was like with the bands potentially asking you like, hey, how are you growing this way? How are you connecting with your audience in such a way? Like, how could we do that? And as I was listening to your responses, of course, with everything with Smash Bros. And getting and connecting with those people, something made a lot of sense to me where it's all about, now I'm going to start speaking, more the economics, analytics side of things, but it does kind of make sense here where when it comes to the influence that you have and the music that you have, of course, it's going to attract us people that really are into Japanese culture, people are into anime, people are into video games, all that stuff. And to try and get them to come to shows, it could potentially be tough because maybe they're just not,
Yeah,
they're shy, they just don't feel as comfortable in those social situations.
yeah,
But the
all those.
crazy thing about it is I'm not going to say that you're part of that target audience, but for what you were trying to go, like you once were that target our audience
Yeah,
where being shy, not comfortable to go shows, but you understand what it's like to be a part of that and what at that time you might have been looking for to find that type of connection. And
yeah,
by having it like, hey, this is where the influence is, but by having Smash Bros at the table, now there's an interest there because it's something that they're comfortable with. So of course, like I said, inch over, and now you finally get a chance to play. You're gonna end up playing with somebody. So now you can
yeah.
have that, you have the camaraderie right there, right then and there to start that, kind of start a
It's
positive
very
connection, start
easy.
that
Yeah,
friendship. And that positive connection just keeps growing and growing to the point where now they feel
yeah,
like they're part of a community. They feel like they're part of a family and they know that the family in that community likes the same stuff that they do. And it's like, oh my, okay, it makes it a lot easier at that point. And I do understand too where people to have, okay, you might really like this band and have a little bit of a nervous time coming up to the merch table. I did it
yeah,
first, and now it seems like sometimes I've seen like bands like, hey, like we know who you are. Why are you not like standing behind and waiting to go come to the merch? I'm like, I'm not
yeah,
shy. There's a lot of other people that haven't talked to like the bands yet, and I've already
yeah,
have. So I'm gonna give them the time of day because I know I'll
Yeah.
get my time of day eventually. And I can
yeah.
wait. I can sit there. I can wait and just sit there and start thinking about random things. Like again, what Nick Cage movie is the best Nick Cage movie? So like that's just me in a social setting. I'm pretty good at it. But I totally understand, especially you were part of that audience that you're trying to attract beforehand.
Yeah,
Of
exactly.
course, you might still be rather a part of it, but when it comes to the social side of things, connecting with people, it definitely seems like from your perspective, it has gotten a lot easier for you. But you remember what it was like, you know what it's like, and to be able
Yeah,
to connect with those people on that and create that family and create that connectivity to create that value that people really enjoy. I mean, that's what's creating a very large community for you that you 100% care about. You're showing people that you 100% care about, and it's not a friendship thing anymore. I mean, it's a whole family where
exactly.
you have kids that are learning to scream and want to be in bands and are breaking away from shyness and potential social awkwardness because of what you're doing. I
Yeah,
mean, wow.
I know. It's those are the moments that like there's of course there's always tough times. I wonder like because I feel like we haven't broke through yet. But I'm not ungrateful. But I'm just saying that it's not my career yet. I still
Hmm.
work a full
Hmm.
time job to support this. And I'm waiting for that moment where I can just fully say like I am just a musician. Um, and I oh my gosh, I totally lost what I was saying.
You're talking about how those moments are super
Oh,
worth it.
thank you.
That's okay. So
So
I got
so
you.
those moments like really keep me going. They really help me. They bring tears to my eyes. Like I don't really get a lot from, I'm kind of weird. I don't really fame doesn't excite me. Money as long as I have enough to take care of everything and take care of my animals, and then maybe a little bit extra to have fun with my friends or buy new games. Like I'm pretty like I'm not very like that kind of person, materialistic in that sense. I'm more sentimental, and it's hard for me to find motivation in tough times sometimes, because money doesn't drive me, and neither does fame. But when I have those moments, it's like, okay, that's worth it. Like that's what keeps me going. That's
Hmm.
what like can push me through those really like tough times where I'm like, I should just give up. And I just really like I just beat myself up a lot. It's just who I am. and I've always struggled with self-esteem. And I just want to say that there's other people out there who struggle with the same thing, and I meet them at my shows. For example, just to bring this up, I just spoke with a girl in Seattle. I had a really heart-to-heart talk with her. Never met her before in my life. She went up to me. She said, "Wow, you're so amazing. I can't believe you look so cute. Your vocals are so powerful. You're singing like, oh my God." And you could just tell that she was impressed in a sense, like, "Go girl, like you go girl." And she's like, "I really want to be a musician." And I had a heart to heart with her. And she's been communicating the last few weeks, DMing me. I couldn't find anybody to work with. I gave her some tips of like how I first started. It's really hard to start by yourself. That was me. So I just told her a lot of the stuff, little tips. Go to shows, talk to people, befriend people, go to shows that are like similar to the genre you want to play, blah blah blah. She did that like a few days ago. Found someone. They might make some music now. She told me, "Thank you so much. I can't believe like this is happening." She's like, I don't want to like bother you too much, but I just want to tell you, I thank you so much for having that heart to heart with me. Like you don't know how much it like kept me going. It's like those things like mean so much to me. Those are the things that like really, really give me a lot in return, because I don't get a lot. And I just purely do this because of the love for music, the love for the things I want to share to the world. Like, hey, I really love this game. This game made me cry. I want to share it to the world in case somebody missed it, and it would influence them like it did me. And those are my goals. So like that's just like a real example of another female fan. Never saw us before, just came to the show. I don't remember like why she came. Sometimes for other bands, and they just happen to see us. But like you can see how influential it can be on someone, and you never know, like that little moment that completely changed their lives. So like that's like very important to me. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I wasn't saying anything.
All it takes is that one moment. And to kind of just wrap this up before we go do the whole entire, goodbye, Slay, that kind of stuff. The one thing to wrap this up is I've been doing this podcasting for about 4 years now, and I've seen bands where all of a sudden it's like I've seen bands and I've seen them grow. And there's always some sort of commonality there. And it's when they have that moment where, all of a sudden you get to see them pop off and you get to see them start to grow and you get to see them make a career out of it and really be successful at it. The whole entire time, there's always one commonality, and the commonality is how they connect with their fans. And it could be in many different aspects. I've seen bands do it with crazy funny humor. I've seen bands do it just by being as open as possible with people. I've seen it just by them, having fun, but also connect people and showing as much gratitude. Now, are these bands, the biggest bands in the world right now? No. But are they at that point where they're, going on tour consistently and the bands are their full-time jobs and that's it? Yeah, I've seen it happen. And that commonality in how they connect with their fans and how they create that like full-on connection to the point where the fans are basically their biggest marketers, their biggest supporters, every aspect about it. The community and how you're creating it, and the core value of creating for connectivity, family, friendship, and just to have people be comfortable with not only who they are, but also with everything they love, especially with all your influence, again, Japanese culture, anime, video games, all that stuff. It's not a question of if that pop-off moment is going to happen. It's not a question of if. The question is when. That's where the question is. It's going to happen. So for everyone listening, you're not going to want to miss out on this because it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. So Suki and Frankie, as we bring this podcast to conclusion, I always like to end these podcasts by giving my guests, which is both of you, a chance to say whatever you want to say, plug whatever you want to plug, promote whatever you want to promote at the end of the podcast. So the floor is yours.
You want me to go?
Well, you might say some stuff that
okay. So
you're good with like dates and stuff.
Okay.
I'm not
so thanks so much everybody for watching. If you want to know what we got going on, we have a upcoming show in Las Vegas. Our first one in a while on March 4th, I think, Saturday. We'll be posting the details about it actually this weekend. We just finally got our confirmation that we'll be able to play it, so look out for that. We'll also be doing another tour. I can't announce who it's with. In late to mid-May, we'll be announcing that as well. We'll be hitting a lot more states than we have previously.
Yeah, what are some of them?
We'll be hitting Utah for the first time, and I
Salt Lake
think
City, right?
and Denver, Colorado too. So that's 2 new states, plus a bunch of other ones that we visited recently on our last tour. So should be pretty cool. Aside from that, check out our new video, "Grave with the Fireflies." You can find it on YouTube on via Dreambound. We'll also have another video out pretty soon here in the next couple months. Aside from that, you can find everything we do on any of our social medias. Instagram probably is the best. Suki is really great at running all our pages, but yeah, find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we even post sometimes on our
Spotify.
YouTube. And if you want to listen to our music, we have it all on Spotify.
Yeah, it's all nicely packed together, so kind of hard on YouTube, but yeah, it's all nicely together on Spotify. And yeah, we have like a link that has everything in all our bios.
Yeah,
like it literally has everything. So
I'll just drop it right now. It's instabio.cc/Lucrecia. That has like a link to like all of our stuff. So it has merch, videos, songs, like whatever you need.
Yeah.
Did you want to say anything?
Our personal YouTube, Lucrecia Band, that has a lot of our covers on it and a couple music videos as well. So I'm gonna be posting more on that. So I just want to shout that out real quick. Well, I stream too, but you guys will have to come to my like Instagram or something to find that. Because I think I'm gonna switch to YouTube. But yeah, so I'm excited. We're gonna play like all those shows. So keep an eye out. Like we update our Instagram literally every day, and Twitter. So like if you forget, like if we're coming to your city, like just to check that. We always have it literally every day. Every day. Also, we try to reply back to everyone. So feel free just to comment and ask us anything. But yeah, I just want to say thanks, and I'm not really like the best at interviews. I think of course I get nervous and stuff, and like I run a tangent. So this isn't like my greatest like place for me, but I want people to like connect with us and us as people and know our intentions and know that there's like many layers to everything that we do and to us. And I want to share like my struggles with people because I want to connect with people in that way too. I want people to feel that they're not alone, that it is hard. Like I said, struggled with that for a long time, and I wouldn't have been doing music without Frankie. So, I can be that. I tell people I can be that for you. So, like, you just want to talk to someone, get some encouragement, maybe some advice. Like, we always are very open to doing that because, again, it's coming from someone who's struggled with that a lot. And, I just want people to not feel alone, basically. So yeah, there's all kinds of people out there that make music. There's not just one guy who's running out there. He eats it up the spotlight. Like there's people out there that are like me, and you can do it too. So I'm just saying, just don't let anything like stop you from trying to like live your dreams and find your dreams. It can come from anybody. So yeah, I just want to say that, and I think that's.
All right, that was a fantastic way to end it, but now it's time for me to end it with 3 very specific things. So when it comes to Lucrecia, they just told you everywhere where you can find it, okay? Everywhere you can find their music, where you can connect them on social media, everything around there. They even got the link in all their bios where you can just click on everything. But I'm going to even do you one better. Instead of having to just like go multiple steps and search this stuff up yourself, here's what I want you to do. Go to the description of the podcast and say, find Lucrecia online. I'm going to have all the links there, all the labels there as well. So all you have to do is click on that link. It's going to take you everywhere you need to go. I've got all the links there. You're going to be able to stream the music, buy music, download the music, buy their merch, find out when they're playing live shows, and of course, connect with them online because let me tell you, after this interview, if you're not doing it, I do not know what the heck is going on with you. Like, what? Now it's time for number 2. So whenever I've guests in the podcast, I always tend to make a certain promise at that point in time as a way for one to say, thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time. And 2 is a way for me to say, I want to continue to support the band any way I can. And my God, there is no way that this is going to be like the streak of this is going to be broken. You absolutely hit on this. So my promise to you both is not an if. No. It's not an if. It's a when. It's when I get to see Lucrecia perform live for the first time. My promise to you is this. Actually, it's a two-parter. One, first round's on me. Secondly, I will beat you in Smash Bros.
Oh, okay.
I'm calling it now.
All right, I'm looking forward.
That's a big
Can
flex.
I ask you one question before
Oh,
you
who do you play?
Yeah, who do you play?
My typical main character is Link.
Okay. I do struggle against good links, so I can believe it for sure.
He plays Sephiroth and Cloud, and I play Corrin, Pyra Mithra, and I just started replaying my old classic Wario.
Nice, yeah. The new one, if I'm prime with the new one, it's got to be my favorite video game character of all time, Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, that's a tough.
Oh yeah, our old guitarist was so good with him. He is such a troll. He is King Troll.
Oh well, we'll honestly we'll just have a lot of fun with it, and it'll be a blast. But as we bring this podcast to its conclusion, I cannot end this podcast by saying goodbye for a number of reasons. Number one is I made you guys a promise and not have to really hone up my Smash Bros skills, because I may end up coming there and playing really well, or I'm making a fool of myself. Either way, it's gonna be a blast. So
it's all for fun.
Oh yeah. Secondly, I have to make good on my promise, because I always like to make good on my promises. And third, my God, this is not the only time I want to have you both on the podcast. This was awesome. This was amazing. I would love to have you both on again in the future to see basically, okay, let's take a look at this. Maybe at beginning of next year, it's like, what the heck happened? How'd you guys blow up so big? That's what I'm hoping for, and that's what we're going to make sure it happens.
We'll pray. Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
So as we close this out, I can't say goodbye. That's way too final. I'm going to end it by saying this. I'll see you later.
Johnny.
Well, folks, that was my interview with Suki and Frankie from the band Lucrecia. Once again, now it is time for Kevin's final thought to close out the episode. So, where's my final thought come in? It comes all around Super Smash Bros. And it's not the act of having Super Smash Bros. At their live shows, at the merch table. It's the why that's behind it. If you heard what Suki had to say about it, it's something where they have it at their shows because the people that they connect with, especially everything around the anime, video game, Japanese inspired culture stuff, a lot of the fans, they might not feel comfortable going to live shows. They might be shy. They might be nervous. And by having Smash Bros there, it's a starting point. It's something that gives that audience potential comfort to connect with, give them something that they can really understand and just be like, I really like this. I kind of want to try this out. It gives them the open-mindedness piece to go to a live show, to connect with the band, to find that the band connects on many, many different avenues in the same things that they like, and that there's a lot of other people that feel that same way as well. It's such a huge connection point, to the point where they are creating such a strong community that's focused around friendship, connectivity, positivity, and feeling like you belong. And for people that, might be shy, I was shy at times as a kid as well, and sometimes that's all you really ever wanted. To find that and have that, it helps people really become more confident in themselves, because now there's a community of people that they know that they can connect with, that like a lot of the same things that they do, that share their interests, that share their ideas and everything. And just the way that they connect with them, and they create that sense of family, and they create that sense that people are valued because they actually do value them. That is something that makes me think about Patient 67 and how Patient 67 has connected with so many people through their use of social media, and why Patient 67 is playing Blue Ridge Rock Fest this year after, coming from Perth, Australia, the western part of Australia. It's amazing to see, and I see a lot of the same things in Lucrecia as I saw in Patient 67 that I've seen in Avoided, I've seen in Kingdom Collapse. There's a lot there when it comes to their idea of connectivity and how to create that piece. And this is a band that I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna stick my flag in this one and say, in about 3 or 4 years, I'm just gonna say that as a safe point, but Lucrecia is gonna be much more well known based off of how they treat their fans, how they connect with their fans, how they create that community around their fans, and because the music also can stand on its own as well. So if you want to connect with Lucrecia, please go to the description of the podcast where it says find Lucrecia online, links levels for all their social media accounts, where you can find them on tour, where you can watch music videos, where you can connect them, where you can listen to music, download music, stream music, all that good kind of stuff. Subscribe to the podcast where it says find Lucrecia online. You can also follow the Chord Progression Podcast online, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok for your viewing pleasure, because we do a lot of great things in there by posting different short content, different pieces of what's coming up on the podcast, and we also do Wednesday night live streams every single Wednesday night 9 p.m. Central, unless I'm going to a concert or something. Also, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button or hitting that follow button if you're on YouTube, Spotify, Podcast, iHeart Radio, Amazon, or any other place that you can find this podcast, because that helps us out a lot and helps us keep bringing you great bands like this as the gateway to new rock and metal music, inspiring those young rock and metal fans to discover new music and fueling their desires to connect and feel accepted. Oh, yeah. Also want to thank Phoenix Fitness for sponsoring this podcast. Remember, 20% off. Use the code CVB20 at affixit.com to subscribe to the podcast. Links to the podcast. Thank you, Suki. Thank you, Frank from Lucrecia. Yeah, I'm coming for a live show so I can get in that pit, but then also got to play some Smash Bros afterwards. We gotta do it! Alrighty, on that note, that's gonna be it for me, guys. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of the big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah.